Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Statesmanship Project. In this episode, we're going to pick up our conversation about the equation for program success. The last time we talked about this, we were discussing rest, and I noticed that I mischaracterized the somatic and autonomic nervous system as the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, which are part of the autonomic nervous system as opposed to the separate parts of the somatic and autonomic. What I wanted to convey was that there's a part of your training that stimulates the nervous system that you can control, and you stimulate this by forcing your muscles to contract in specific ways that result in the performance of an exercise. And then you condition the autonomic nervous system by putting your body under stress. Now, the amount of stress you put on your body is dictated by the amount of load and the comfort you have with a particular exercise. So if it's something you've never done before, or it's something that you have never done with a particular amount of weight, you're going to increase the amount of stress on your body. And this is why training programs like CrossFit do so much variety, because they think that they're shocking your system and they're just overloading the autonomic nervous system. And yeah, it puts a lot of stress on your body, and your body does have to try to adapt to that, but you're not going to get consistent results from that because you're just overwhelming your body with stress and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to adapt to that. And like I was saying before, rest is when we gain all of the wonderful benefits of all of the work that we do in the gym. And so the more we can promote our body's ability to rest and recover from the training that we're doing, the greater results we're going to have. And this is why we can endure any amount of intensity, frequency, and duration in training as long as we are giving ourselves adequate amount of rest in order to recover from that training. Because if you're not giving yourself enough rest, you're just throwing away gains. So how we want to recover is we want to basically do the things that are going to facilitate the body's ability to heal. This is sleep enough. You do want to eat properly and adequately, but not in abundance, because this can have counter effects, especially if you are trying to lose weight. And that would be my cat. And I think she likes to try to get into trouble while I'm doing things that she knows I cannot stop, so that she can get away with things that she knows she should not do. Likewise, in training, people often do things that they ought not to do, like go off program because they're feeling good or they feel like they can get away with it. And in the long run, they end up hurting their gains. And so this is where rest comes in. We have to be giving ourselves an adequate amount of rest. And if we feel like we aren't training enough, we can only gauge this by the amount of progress we're making relative to our program. So if you aren't making adequate progress, there's one of two ways to go about doing it. It's either because you're resting too much, which is often unlikely, or because you're not resting enough. And so if your other variables are in sync, you have to try to figure out if you're resting enough or not enough, or resting too much or not enough. And if we're resting too much, then you won't be making gains at all. Every time you're in the gym, you'll probably be sore, but you'll also feel like you're not making any progress in terms of the amount of weight that you're moving, or the amount of reps that you're performing, and the amount of strength that you're cultivating, or I should say comfort that you're cultivating. So like if you're doing a push-up, the first time you do it, it's going to feel really weird, but then the subsequent times you do it, it should feel more comfortable until there's a groove that you've worn into it. And if you're resting too much, you're not going to develop that groove. Now, if you're not resting enough, you won't be able to increase the amount of weight that you're using or increase the number of reps that you're performing, or your muscles won't grow from the stimulus, and you'll be tired all the time, and you'll just generally feel worn out. And so we want to avoid this. And it can also lead to injury, which is a little bit more of a longer term consequence of not adequately resting. So I wanted to break that down just a little bit more. I don't want these videos to be too terribly long. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. I will get into the other variables coming up. I'm trying to think where I want to go from here. I think probably the concepts of recovery and adaptation I've hopefully characterized fairly well. We can start getting into intensity, frequency, and duration moving forward, and then we'll discuss how the ratio has to equal 1. Alright, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, have a good day.